So this week I was going to do a video about something totally different, but as many of you know, I run a large Facebook group for the community of whitefish, and last night there was a post in there about the realtor commissions and what's happening with all of that, and there was a whole bunch of people that had their facts wrong, and so I thought I should probably go over it. August 17th is when these changes that are going to come into effect go into effect, and so I might as well just get it out of the way now and tell everybody the real deal, because on the news, or if you're looking at a lot of these articles online, a lot of them are couldn't be further from the truth, and shockingly they're a bunch of clickbait. So there was a lawsuit that just ended last year in Missouri where the jury found that the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and other large brokerages had conspired in order to inflate the commissions paid by sellers of their homes. So let's start out by talking about how commissions have always worked. And the one thing I want you to take away from this video, if you take nothing else, is that commissions have always been negotiable. It's always between the listing agent and the seller of the house to determine what they're willing to pay for commissions. There's always been the opportunity to do whatever you want. If you don't want to use an agent, you never had to. That's why you've always seen for sale by owner houses, or people selling on their own, or representing themselves. You don't have to use an agent. So how it would normally work is that an agent would meet with the seller of the house, and they would negotiate what the seller wanted to pay in commission. And normally that commission would be split between the selling agent and a buyer's agent. So after the seller of the house and the listing agent agreed upon a commission, they would list the house on MLS with all the information about the house, and they would also list the buyer's agent commission. So again, if they had agreed on 6%, it would say buyer's agent commission 3%, or 2.5%, or 2%, or whatever they had agreed upon, because again, it's always been negotiable, but it was listed on MLS. So the lawyers in this lawsuit claimed that by advertising these commissions in the MLS, it was a form of antitrust. They were basically saying that a buyer's agent would scroll through the MLS and look for the places with the highest commissions and only show those. Well, I can say in all my years of doing real estate, I have never looked through the commissions first, and then if somebody sent me a list of 10 homes that they wanted to see, I would pull up the 10 homes and schedule appointments to see all 10. I wouldn't go through the commissions and say, well, and then call the guy, well, I'm not going to show you this house because the commission's too low. We would show all the houses, and then at the end I would take whatever commission was offered. So as a result of this lawsuit and settlement, as of August 17th, commissions are no longer allowed to be posted on MLS. You can post them on other websites, on the company website, anything but the MLS. So what does this mean for you as a buyer? Well, not much, except your agent is going to have to call and find out what they're offering, or dig it up somewhere if it's even posted. And that really isn't as transparent as it once was, because you never know what an agent is going to tell you if you call and ask what the commission is. But just like always, sellers are allowed to offer commissions. A lot of these news articles are saying that nobody has to pay commissions anymore. Well, that's always been the case. You never had to pay commissions, but these newspaper articles are getting the clickbait and the shocking headlines going and making it sound like it's all over, there's no more commissions, everything's going to be super cheap. So since this lawsuit is settled, this lawyer that was the head of the lawsuit has been on all these podcasts and interviews I've seen, basically saying that buyer's agents, all they do is, look stuff up on Zillow and open doors for people. Well, because of YouTube and because of all these videos I've done, I'm primarily a buyer's agent because I get people moving here from out of state. And if you're moving somewhere, whether it's here or anywhere from out of state, I would highly suggest you use a buyer's agent or have a buyer's agent, because you're not going to know the different laws and the different rules in that area like a buyer's agent that's from that area is going to know. If you check out my videos that I've done for the past 4 years, you'll see that I've covered 1 million topics about Montana and things you need to know up here. And there's no way for other people coming from different parts of the country to know what these rules are. And that's where I bring value, or other buyer's agents can bring you value. It's just like if I were moving to Arkansas or Texas, I'm not going to know the local rules, regulations, and things that you need to know, or you should want to know if you're buying a house there. So who is this lawsuit hurting the most? Well, it's not the agents, it's actually first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers typically don't have a lot of money, and they've been saving up for the down payment and inspections and everything else you have to pay for. So if they run across a house with a 0% where the seller's not offering anything to a buyer's agent, then they're going to have to negotiate with the buyer's agent in order to pay them for their services. And like I said, if you're a first-time home buyer and you've been saving up all this money for the down payment and everything else, now it's going to put you in a position to have to come up with even more money if you want a buyer's agent to represent you, if the seller isn't offering any commissions for a buyer's agent. So here's a little disclaimer, a little commentary. These are just my feelings, my thoughts on this whole lawsuit. As they say, follow the money. And the reason I say that is because before all of this happened, 90% of lawsuits dealing with real estate came from dual agency, which means dual agency is when the listing agent represents both sides of the deal. So he's representing the seller and the buyer. And every time one of these deals goes sideways, which happens more often than it should, one side or the other, or both sides, believe that the agent's working for the other guy more than they're working for them. And that's the problem with dual agency, is it's very hard. It can happen, it is legal, but it's very difficult to truly represent both sides in the middle of a deal like this. And like I said, when they go sideways, that's when the lawyers are called. So with this new scenario, with all these, like I said earlier, first-time home buyers or anybody that stumbles upon a listing that they're not offering a buyer agent any money and they don't want to pay a buyer's agent, then it's going to turn into a dual agent situation where you're using the listing agent to represent you as the buyer, and the sellers are using the same agent to sell their house. So if suddenly we have a lot more dual agent situations, I'm guessing that's going to add up to a lot more lawsuits in the future. And speaking of money, I did a little Google search on how much class action lawyers make on these lawsuits. And as you can see here, they make between 25 and 35%. So I find it kind of funny that they came after our 1 to 3% commissions while they're making 35%. And if we do a little math here, the settlement was for $418 million. So you take that times 35%, and it comes out to $146,300,000 for these lawyers. So that's a pretty good payday that they made on this lawsuit. So if you have any other questions about this lawsuit or how commissions work, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to go over it with you. But as a recap, on August 17th, commissions will no longer be allowed to be posted on MLS, but the thing that hasn't changed is that commissions are negotiable, always have been, and will continue to be that way, and sellers do have the right to offer commissions to buyer's agents or concessions to the buyer at closing.
Thank you for watching our video. Please call, text, or email for more information, and don't forget to watch our other videos about Montana.